Welcome to Raw Machines, a journey to discover some of the most impressive processes around the world. In this episode, we will step into the sawmills of Northern Europe, where every log is reborn in a new form. From the deep forest to the sawing line, from smart drying kilns to 3D scanning systems, every stage is designed to transform wood into the most perfect material. Hold tight and join me to explore right now. As stepping into the forest, it is easy to forget that this is not just scenery. This is the workspace of people who are intimately familiar with the rhythm of the trees. The logger stands before a log tens of meters high, placing a hand on the rough bark, assessing the natural lean, the center of gravity, the wind speed, and the slope of the land. Only when they understand everything clearly do they pull out the saw and begin the first cut. The V-shaped cut, also known as the notch, is made on the side where the tree will fall. Sawing bit by bit, the logger opens a wide enough angle for the tree to fall as intended, but not so deep as to lose control. When the notch is complete, the logger moves to the back of the tree and performs the back cut. This cut must be slightly higher than the notch and maintain a perfectly horizontal line. When the opening is large enough, they gently drive in a wedge to lift the trunk and prevent the saw from binding. Finally, a small strip of wood is deliberately left, the hinge. It serves as the pivot point that helps the trunk fall in the intended direction. The tree begins to shake gently. Small cracking sounds ring out, and then the entire log crashes down, concluding the moment when human and forest coordinate seamlessly. The felling is complete, but the work in the forest is not yet over. Timber extraction always depends on the terrain, and each region requires a different approach. In the high mountains of Scandinavia or North America, they use cable yarding systems. Steel cables span across valleys, connecting two elevated points. The logs hang suspended in the air, quietly sliding toward the landing site. In flatter areas, the skidder becomes the main character. These large machines with wide, solid tires like elephant feet clamp the logs tightly and pull them away like powerful beasts. They create temporary paths in the forest, but these are controlled to prevent erosion or disruption of the topsoil. In places where the forest meets a river, water transport is as beautiful as an ancient ritual. Logs are floated, sometimes assembled into large rafts. The current does the heaviest work, pushing the wood for tens of kilometers. Finally, where roads are accessible, the logs are loaded onto long trucks with large wheels and sturdy steel frames. Each truckload is like an escort, moving the multi-ton logs out of the forest. Our first location is the AKZ factory in Latvia. This is the moment when the raw gives way to refinement and the forest hands its role over to technology. AKZ was founded in 2009, a young factory by industry standards, yet its operation embodies a modern spirit that many older facilities must respect. The vast interior space of the mill always resonates with the sound of machinery. The log cranes move rhythmically, rotating each log like a craftsman turning a piece on a lathe. Everything coordinates to prepare for the first stage, receiving and sorting the raw material. When the logs arrive at the sorting yard, the grading process begins immediately. Each log is turned so that the light hits its surface, allowing the craftsman to see its roundness, straightness, and the signs indicating how it lived in the forest. Behind them, automatic measuring devices record every parameter: length, diameter, and eccentricity. Latvia has vast forests, but the supply is not infinite. Thus, every log is seen as an asset that needs to be used wisely. When the wood is fed into the main line, the high-speed journey begins. The debarker strips the bark using powerful rotating force, revealing the smooth, bright wood underneath. Afterward, the wood is transferred to the primary breakdown area. Here, bandsaws and circular saws work like the factory's right and left hands. The first cuts create the center sections that form the core of the lumber product. Meanwhile, the thin sideboards fall to both sides like light wood scales. The rough sawn lumber is then edged, trimmed, and sorted by size. The light and dark, large and small pieces create an interesting contrast on the conveyor belt. Each board is sent into various storage bays, J-bar pockets, like letters being sent to the correct mailbox. This is the preparation step to move the wood into the next crucial phase. Wood drying is another subtle world. The AKZ factory owns 13 drying kilns operated by a modern control system. The goal is not just to dry the wood, but to bring it to a stable moisture content, around 18%, or lower if the customer requests. Looking at the cold, empty drying chambers, it is hard for an outsider to imagine that this very place determines most of the final quality of the wood. When the dried wood is brought out, it enters the planing line, one of AKZ's great prides. The feeding speed of 600 meters per minute makes the entire line resemble a steel wind. 8 planing heads operate simultaneously, each with 30 blades, shaving off thin layers of wood at a speed that is hard for the naked eye to follow. After planing, the lumber proceeds into the sorting line for evaluation of strength and appearance. Each piece of lumber entering the line is tested for strength using Dade technology, a resonance frequency meter that determines which grade it deserves: the robust C24 or the standard C16. In addition, appearance grading is performed on the same line using the FinScan imaging system, which allows for a detailed assessment of defects and the wood's natural characteristics. Finally, the dried and planed lumber is stacked into bundles, strapped tightly, wrapped in woven plastic, and awaits delivery to customers. If treated with preservatives, they don't even need the wrapping. Perhaps the most special aspect of AKZ is not in its sawing line or drying kilns, but in how they completely utilize everything the forest yields. Bark is used as fuel, Sawdust and wood chips become the input source for the N+ A1 certified wood pellet production line, which operates almost around the clock. Two large-scale preservation treatment tanks also open up a new phase in the story. Here, the wood is dyed green, brown, or blue, depending on the intended use. Even the easily overlooked sideboards are utilized to produce battens for the roofing industry, from common to premium lines. To offer a one-stop shop service, AKZ also outsources various other wood products such as railroad ties, poles, posts, and fencing materials so that customers only need one address to acquire all the necessary technical specifications. Leaving AKZ, one is easily left with an unforgettable feeling. The modern wood industry has shifted to a different mindset. It is no longer about human effort or inherited experience, but a tight harmony between science, engineering, and a respectful attitude toward forest resources. A log, when entering this place, is not merely cut into pieces. It is observed, calculated, and fully utilized for its potential, as if every fiber of wood is part of the forest's long story, and the human task is to tell it as completely as possible. Leaving Latvia, we continue heading north to a new factory. The Melvin Group is one of the icons of the Nordic wood industry, straddling the border between Norway and Sweden. These two nations are famous for their high-quality spruce and pine forests, once hailed as the green gold of the Scandinavian region. For decades, Molven has built its reputation not only through massive capacity, but also through a production philosophy that emphasizes rigorous science and sustainability. The log trucks entering the Melvin Gate are neither noisy nor chaotic, but very orderly. Large robotic arms reach out, lifting each log and placing it onto the main conveyor belt, a long, cold, and bright runway that takes the wood toward its defining moment. In the first sorting area, the wood is divided into two streams. Large logs go straight into the main line, while smaller logs are directed to 6 specialized tables. This operational approach shows Molven's mindset. Every log will find its own voice in the production line, without confusion or patchworking. The most unique aspect of Molven's sorting system is the application of X-ray scanning and 3D scanners. X-rays penetrate the wood, creating an internal map invisible to the naked eye. These two technologies combine like a clairvoyant eye and a brain, providing the optimal cutting diagram. In the main sawing area, every movement occurs with rhythm and seamlessness. Circular saws, band saws, and chipper canters operate harmoniously like an orchestra, successively separating the large wood sections into main cants. The sideboards and secondary boards are transferred to the auxiliary line for processing. Each line takes on a distinct task without overlapping or hindering the other, much like two parallel streams, both aiming for the shared goal. maximizing the utilization of every millimeter of the log. The wood, after being sawn, is passed through the board scanner system, a pair of electronic eyes that evaluate the appearance of each board. Color, knots, cracks, warp, everything is recorded and automatically graded. After grading, the wood is taken into the kilns. Mullivan's drying chambers operate like a thermal laboratory. Airflow, temperature, humidity, everything is computer controlled to ensure the wood dries evenly from the inside out. This process lasts for days, sometimes weeks, depending on the wood species. Finally, the dried wood enters the planing line. This is the stage that transforms the rough into the refined. The board, upon leaving the planer, is not only smooth, but also reveals sharp grain patterns, fully showcasing the tree's growth history. Concluding this step, the wood is once again passed through the final sorting system, then carefully stacked into bundles and carefully sealed in preparation for its journey to construction sites around the world. In the next chapter, we will travel further north in Europe to Koskisen in Finland, where speed, automation, and computer intelligence merge, creating a completely different style of production. When the logs are unloaded from the trucks, the measurement process begins immediately. Metal detectors check whether any old nails or remnants of Soviet-era steel wire are hidden within the log. Then, the Level 1 measurement system appears, a space flooded with lights and sensors that scan the logs like a doctor performing a health check. Length, small end diameter, initial curvature, all are recorded. But this process is just the warm-up for a deeper analysis journey that Koskisen is famous for across Europe. When the logs enter the Vallon Cone VK9000 debarker, the sound changes completely. Rotors spin at high speed, stripping away the bark without damaging the good wood inside. It's like a craftsman using a razor, but sped up hundreds of times. The bark is sent to a recycling line to become clean fuel for the drying kilns, a testament to Finland's zero-waste philosophy. After debarking, the logs proceed into the Husaw system. This is an integrated sawing line consisting of a chipper canter, can saw, and rip saw. The steps from creating flat surfaces, cutting lengthwise, to separating the sideboards happen continuously and seamlessly. The operating speed can reach 180 meters per minute, so fast that when the log passes through, it doesn't feel like it's being cut, but decomposed into boards in an instant. The log is first planed into a straight cant, then enters the can saw to separate the sideboards. A maximum of 2 boards per side, depending on The box then rotates 90 degrees and passes through the can saw a second time to separate the center cuts, using a 12-blade system on 2 shafts, while also continuing to take a maximum of 2 sideboards per side. The center cuts are then passed through the rip saw to achieve final dimensions. The sideboards and the center cuts will each be routed to a different green sorting line. The FinScan system uses cameras and algorithms to understand each board, warp, live knots, dead knots, cracks, defect areas. It determines which boards need to go to the kiln, which boards should be rotated, and which boards can be sent straight to dry grading after the drying is complete. In traditional mills, grading is the job of the craftsman's eyes. At Koskisen, those eyes are replaced by hundreds of sensors and cameras, seeing faster, deeper, and more accurately than a human can imagine. Each shift, the line processes about 600 meters of lumber, and the entire mill operates continuously for 3 shifts per day, sending over 35 truckloads of sawn timber out the gate. After being dried and dry sorted, the lumber is moved to the automatic packaging system. Robots stack each layer of wood with perfect precision. Each package is wrapped to protect against moisture, affixed with a traceability label, and prepared for its journey out of Finland to Asia, Europe, the Middle East, or North America, places that view finished lumber as a standard for reliability. In the next chapter, we will leave the world of northern softwoods and step into the world of European hardwoods, where Kodenbrock, a factory with over a century of history, continues to craft valuable timber species. Stepping into the Kodenbrock log yard, the first thing that makes an impression is not the machinery, but the logs themselves. Oak, ash, chestnut stretch across the yard, each log wearing dark bark, significantly larger in diameter than softwood and carrying a weight as if history has crystallized within every fiber. Working with hardwoods is thus more like a ritual than a craft. An inch of error comes at a very high price. In the sorting area, the logs are evaluated not just by size, but by their potential. Some oak logs are destined for premium veneer, the ultra-thin sheets used for luxurious tabletops or exquisite furniture. Others are more suited for flooring or thick lumber. The skilled sorters at Kodenbrock can estimate the economic value of a log simply by looking at the bark grain and listening to the sound when tapping lightly. Following sorting is the sawing stage, the phase that showcases Kodenbrock's technical identity. The saw blade spins steadily, separating layers of wood with an incredible thinness. And it is precisely this thinness that creates a clean cut, minimizes waste, and preserves the quality of the wood fiber. This is a technique that not every mill dares to operate. Blades that are too thin can easily bend or become misaligned, and only the most skilled saw sharpeners can keep them in perfect condition. When the final layer of bark is removed from the log, the thick, heavy wood blocks, full of swirling grain patterns like a flowing current, begin to emerge. They are fed into the sawing line to be separated into standard lumber boards. This is the stage where viewers can feel the true power of hardwood. The wide 12-inch band saw blades, nearly 30 feet long, run at a remarkably high speed. When they touch the log, the metallic sound is heavy and deep, unlike the sharp, clean sound of softwood. The head rig operator uses an automatic set work system to position the log so that the first cut is optimally aligned. The unique aspect of Coudenbrock is that they use technology to determine the position, but the final decisive moment always belongs to the craftsman. They observe the grain lines, estimate the core's twist, and then press the cutting button, an action that is both technical and emotional. The wood cants, once cut into square or rectangular shapes, are moved through the resaw line, where they are cut into boards that are 1 inch, 2 inch thick, or according to the specific application. Each type of hardwood has its own cutting rhythm. Oak sometimes releases, cracks, while ash is more resilient. The craftsman must subtly observe every minor change to prevent errors. Upon exiting the resaw, the boards continue to the edging area. This is where edgers cut off the curved, chipped, or imperfect edges to create straight, clean edges. A hardwood board doesn't just need to be the correct size, it needs to have the perfect form, ready to become a component of beautiful furniture. Then comes the most crucial moment in the hardwood production chain: manual grading according to NHLA standards. No machine can fully replace the eyes and hands of the craftsmen at Coudenbrock. They pick up each board, check the grain, measure the straightness, and evaluate the natural color. A small mineral streak, a dead knot in the wrong place, or a hairline crack can change the lumber's grade. Finally, the boards are stacked with stickers, thin wooden strips whose job is to maintain spacing, so that air can circulate during the drying process. A properly stacked wood block can determine 50% of the quality after it leaves the kiln. If stacked incorrectly, the wood can warp, crack, or discolor. The Cottonbrock factory, with its century-long history, demonstrates something that ultra-automated factories may not possess: the delicate blend of tradition and technology. Machines scan the wood, calculate cutting diagrams, and rotate the logs. But the human hand is what ultimately determines the beauty of the final board. The hardwood industry, therefore, carries the spirit of classic craftsmanship, where quality is measured not just by a steel ruler, but by feel, by experience, and by a profound respect for the wood. Leaving Cottonbrock, we carry the thought that technology can replace physical effort, but it cannot replace subtlety. Hardwood, with its dense structure, complex grain, and high value, still demands the human touch. This is a place where tradition is not left behind. It is elevated, refreshed, and brought into a new era. In the next chapter, we will cross the Atlantic Ocean and enter the world of Hampton lumber, an integrated model from the forest to the mill, where the American way of making wood combines scale, technology, and a not a single tree wasted philosophy. Hampton lumber is not a single factory. It is an ecosystem. From the vast forests stretching across the mountainsides to the modernized sawmills, the entire operation follows a consistent philosophy: sustainable harvesting, modern technology, and respect for resources. When people talk about family forests, they are not just talking about trees, but about people, the multi-generational families who have lived with this profession. Hampton's raw materials primarily come from the region's characteristic softwood species: Douglas fir, western hemlock, and several other native softwoods. For over a century, softwood has been a critical construction material in American residential architecture. And Hampton continues that tradition by investing in production lines optimized specifically for the properties of each species. The processing workflow at Hampton Mills is designed as a continuous, seamless flow. In the initial stage, the primary breakdown system operates at high speed, separating the raw logs efficiently yet precisely. The edging and trimming stages are meticulously refined to ensure the lumber meets increasingly strict construction standards. The wood is then moved into the kilns, where parameters for temperature, humidity, and airflow are entirely computer-controlled. This technology helps each piece of lumber achieve the desired moisture content, ensuring uniformity and stability according to technical requirements. When the drying process is complete, the products are sorted by species, grade, and moisture content, then counted, packaged, and prepared for their journey to customers. Clear information regarding origin and quality is included on every bundle, demonstrating the company's transparency and responsibility. One of the highlights that makes Hampton a model for the modern forestry industry is how they treat every log. The philosophy of not wasting any part of the log is demonstrated through their closed-loop model. The bark becomes fuel for the boiler, sawdust is supplied to particle board mills, and wood chips are transferred for pulp production. Every byproduct finds a new role, both minimizing environmental impact and generating additional economic value. This model not only surpasses the wasteful harvesting methods of the past, but also affirms a sustainable direction for the entire forestry industry in the future. As the final frames close, we realize that the journey of a piece of wood is not just a simple trip from the forest to the factory. It is a journey of time, of knowledge, of innovation, and of the responsibility that humanity has carried for centuries. Looking back, each factory in this journey is like a chapter in the great book of the modern wood industry. They are not the same, and that very difference creates the meaning. Because wood, whether in Latvia, Finland, Germany, or the US, starts from a common root, the forest. And the way each nation, each company engages with the forest reflects their beliefs, culture, and vision. And when one looks at the finished boards, brightly smooth, straight, bearing grain patterns that hold the imprint of rain, sun, wind, snow, and time, one realizes that they are not just products of technology. They are products of respect. Respect for the tree that took decades to grow. Respect for the craftsman who used experience to make every cutting decision. Respect for the technology that helped reduce waste. Respect for nature itself, where every cycle begins and ends. The documentary concludes, but the story of wood does not. Millions of trees continue to grow in the forests. Thousands of people continue to work in the sawmills, and hundreds of factories around the world continue to improve every day. The life cycle of wood continues to turn, more resilient and responsible than ever before. In the future, when we touch a board, walk on a wooden floor, or see a solid wood structure standing in the city, perhaps we will remember this journey and understand that behind that simple look is an entire world of technology, labor, philosophy, and love for the forest. Thank you for listening until the end of the story. If you also enjoy similar videos, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any exciting stories to come. This is Raw Machines, goodbye, and see you next time.